Voilà, puis avec la flèche là.
Cool. So hello everyone, my name is Laura Bridgeman and I'm the director of an organization called Sonar. We do research, education, and advocacy with a focus on dolphins and whales, which are collectively known as cetaceans. So today I'm going to be talking about a strategy that involves marine protected areas, or MPAs, which are often established using a participatory approach involving stakeholders who will be affected by or will affect the marine protected area. Currently, the only stakeholders who are ever at the table are human beings. So we're arguing that cetaceans should also be stakeholders, and this is not because they are more important or worthy of consideration than other species necessarily. It's simply because they benefit from having a large body of scientific evidence that proves their moral standing. So we know now with certainty that they have the kind of consciousness that from which moral claims or rights naturally emanate, as they do with people. So it's up to us to recognize and respect these existing claims. So a few notes about how this strategy might actually operate. So the question is, how would cetaceans actually participate as stakeholders? They can't come to meetings and workshops and things. So this topic requires an entire presentation in itself, but one idea could be the concept of guardian ad litem, which is a legal concept where a court appoints a representative to represent the interests of someone who cannot represent themselves. So for example, in adoption cases involving minors. So this could be a potential model for a stakeholder involvement. And another question is, how would they communicate their interests? They can't speak any human language. But actually, cetaceans communicate their interests relatively easily passively. So once the number of cetaceans and the species in the area are known, you can infer, how much food they will need in a given period of time, what kind of water quality they need in order to not become sick. So their interests should be pretty easy to determine. And we also suggest that certain individuals communicate their interests more actively. And this is something I can't get into now because of time constraints, but there are certain individuals who form these very compelling relationships with human beings, and so we're able to glean more deeper insights into what their interests might be on a different level. So all of this aims to bring up the question of whether human interests should always unequivocally trump those of other species. And at the moment, this is definitely the case. Some people might argue that the interests of wildlife and habitat are already represented by NGOs and other bodies within the stakeholder process, but in their current form, MPAs are not designed to protect individuals of other species, and that's the key, is the individual. In a case where a certain species as a whole is protected, it's because it is of benefit to humans or that the existence of the species does not impede the interests of the human beings. So where this strategy differs is the explicit acknowledgement that each individual cetacean has interests which derive from morally inferred rights, just like humans have. And it's an attempt to consider cetaceans' interests as being equally valid as those of human beings. Cetacean interests will align with human interests when the humans are involved in small-scale industries such as artisanal fishing and tourism that rely upon healthy ecosystems in order to thrive. And cetacean interests will clash with large-scale industrial projects like mega fish farms and oil and gas extraction and other activities that completely devastate ecosystems. So this is why we believe that cetaceans cetacean stakeholders can actually empower communities who are trying to set up an MPA in order to repel a destructive industrial project, and this is often the reason why MPAs are set up. So just to summarize, cetacean stakeholders can potentially help increase the amount of protected area in the oceans, but also, I think most importantly, it can help ignite different ways of thinking about animals and nature in general. Because when we begin to think about what other species might want, trying to look at the world from their perspective, it helps us to break through our conditioning that tells us that they don't matter.
Thank you, Laura.